What's up? Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Me and Steve were solving problems behind the curtain, waiting on you guys. So how y'all doing? How y'all doing? All right, Steve. So what you working on today?
Well, apparently my thumbnail's messed up, and it says January 14th, 25.
Uh oh,
I'm a few months behind.
January. Well, I mean, you forward thinking.
No, this is like 12
Oh,
months too
25.
late.
Yeah, 25. You said. Well, maybe it's your keyboard. Blame it on the keyboard. I mean, if the two didn't work when you hit the button, then that would explain it.
Well, the nice thing is it's not hard to change.
Yep.
There we go. So future people will see the right one. No one looks at thumbnails anyway, right?
Yeah.
Except for that's the only thing they see. Anyway, thanks Papa Ragu for pointing that out. Always like to have it at least be somewhat accurate for historical purposes.
Well, hey, at least you got it there. ASMR has shared our Christmas special, and they according to their post, they have it on the 11th. Now their graphic that they sent me to approve, like they said, like, hey, we're going to send this out if it's okay with you. I'm like, yeah, it was correct on the graphic, but the post that accompanied that graphic, it was messed up.
So details matter.
Yeah. So that's why I saw it and people were tagging me in it. I went on there and just basically said, hey guys, I mean, the flyer is correct. The post, not so much, but this is the date. I put a link in there. Maybe they'll get around to correcting that and fixing it. But anyway, so how's the weather up your way? I heard it's getting a little frigid up there where you are. It's actually gotten a little frigid here too. I had to break out. Look over there. I had to break out my old propane.
Well, it's been chilly. It's actually been warming up throughout the day, and our high is supposed to hit at midnight tonight. But yeah, it's been cold up here, and I have a kind of an auxiliary electric oil-filled heater that just kind of keeps a baseline level of heat out here. And then, of course, I have my smart thermometers to kind of warn me if it gets too cold. But it got down to about 37 degrees in here this morning. So I was like, I need to go out there. I need to warm things up and test things out. So got the heaters running. It's 61 degrees in here right now, but I've got the layers on. There's four layers here. So
let's just say it was 60 in here earlier, but I done warmed it up to 66 now. So
yeah,
I rolled my propane heater over there and turned it on because it was fine until it got dark, and it started cooling down quick because this building's a little drafty.
Yeah.
So
well, we're gonna have a little warm day. It's gonna as Barb said, it might get into the low 40s here midweek, but it's just a roller coaster week because I think Thursday we start getting another snow system as well, and yeah. So
20 here tonight, which is not something we're used to. Matter of fact, I need to go check my spigots before I go in the house tonight, just to make sure. Even though they're frost free, I don't trust them because the last thing I want to do is be doing plumbing in the morning.
Yeah,
that's not something I like waking up and doing.
But no, I spent a chunk of the day out here. So I've had a few questions recently, specifically on the OhmTech Polar Light, and I thought I'd crack that out again. I've had it kind of off to the side while I work with the P3, but I do like this laser, and so wanted to crack it open and answer a few of those questions. So I did work through that today, and hopefully the edit goes smoothly, and I'll get that out here this week. Touched on some of the pass-through stuff. Touched on some more with acrylic, and yes, it does cut through 1/4-inch acrylic pretty nicely. Gives a nice edge to it. Not that it's going to show up with my face showing, but and then talking a little bit about where I get designs or how I get inspiration for designs, and a couple of quick things with that. made another little ornament kind of deal. And then talked a little bit about just some of the maintenance and cleaning, how it's been going. So going to post that out there. It's got some nuggets for people that maybe aren't interested in the laser, but just interested in kind of the general stuff. What I didn't fit into the laser is playing with the rotary. But I did start that this evening, playing around with the X-Tool RA2 and their adapter cable. I think I'm going to be able to get that dialed in. I do need to jack it up a little bit higher. Got to get another set of cement blocks, put it out on up higher, but gonna try to play around with that and kind of answer some of the questions about rotary with that. So that was my day, other than letting one of the other machines work. So I think I mentioned last week that I was expecting the Anycubic Cobra S1 Pro combo thing, 3D printer that comes with they call it the Ace Pro 2, I think, which is their multi-filament system and filament dryer. And so I've been playing with that this week, but of course, being multicolor, I had to do a multicolor print. So why not do something Christmassy? But wait, the lid comes off and it is actually a candy bowl. So I printed out the base, this green, black, and white part yesterday, and it took 8 hours because every time it goes through these layers where there's the eyes, especially the 3 colors, that's 3 color purges each layer. So it takes a while to get through that. And then kind of the same thing here with the red and the white. So multicolor printing without the multi-heads that are coming out now is not fast. It's cool. I mean, this looks pretty good. It's pretty smooth. And the pile of printer poop in both colors makes it look like a candy cane nightmare went off in my shop. It overfilled the little poop chute that I printed for this printer on both colors. I had to empty a mid print, but I mean, it is cool. It's not something I want to do a whole lot of at once, but it is cool to be able to do this. And so I've been trying to run that printer through a number of things to kind of get a good feel for it. One of the issues I ran into with their multicolor spool thing is cardboard filament spools. It's really not happy with that. It kept triggering the sensor that it thought the spool was tangled because it was causing too much resistance. So I tried printing some rims out of PLA and PETG. Helped a little bit, but I don't know. I got to play a little bit more and see if it was just that one spool or if it doesn't like the cardboard spools, even with the rims. It's printing. They didn't send any filament, which was too bad, but it's been printing some of the Flash Forge PLA that I've got plastic spools on. It's printing the bamboo stuff just fine. I got to see because I have a lot of Overture and the Polymaker stuff and even some of the Elegoo stuff, but those all have the cardboard spools. So one little caveat I'm running into, but we'll see. Gotta get some more time on it, and then I'll share some stuff on it. But for the price, I mean, right now they have it right around $400 with that multicolor filament drying integrated, system. So price wise, it's nice. I will say, functioning, it's creating some pretty good prints, but bamboo just has that nice little polish to it that, I think it's kind of as far as just ease of use, out of box, smooth, it's kind of like that nice standard. It's not industrial. It's the Apple of 3D printers. It's not industrial like Prusa. You don't have to tinker with it. It does kind of hold your hand a bit, lock you down, but it just works. Most of these are working pretty well, but it's just kind of like the things sound a little more rattly.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to explain. It just end result is fine. It just in operation, it just doesn't seem as smooth. But AGT, this one I believe has a like a 250, or it's not quite the. It's slightly smaller than the bamboo. Let me look that up. But the build size is close, but not quite. But I'm having fun with that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I see. I'm hearing a feedback echo loop of myself.
Yeah, this one's 250, 250, 250.
But yeah, I've been having to print lots of these. This is the second batch that's going out probably tomorrow. But yeah, I've been running my little old A1. I have been running it to death. I saw where somebody was asking about. Oh yeah, there it is. Crazy Lane Logistics LLC. If you'll email me, clack@theclackshack.com, I can basically I'll take your order, send you an invoice through email, and we'll do it that way. I'm trying to save a little bit of my money when it comes to Etsy fees by just doing it directly through QuickBooks. So, but yeah, I've got 3 that these are paid for, ready to ship. I've got everything ready to go for in the morning. I want to go by the post office and drop them in. I did find that they have like these bubble wrap padded envelope things that it's not that expensive to put these things in. So I'm getting pretty good rate on the shipping. Not bad, considering I don't plan on doing this I told my wife, if I do this for very much longer, I may actually set me up a little shipping station, but I really don't have the room in the house right now. I've got to do something with my office space and everything. But yeah, the PLA is a thing of the past with me now. I've moved on to PETG. The only thing that I'm having a little bit of an issue with occasionally is used to bed adhesion was a problem. Now bed release is more of an issue some days. Like this PETG, like it'll break loose most everywhere, but there'll be like 2 or 3 little spots that you'll literally have to like peel it from the build plate. But yeah,
so that's where some people use the glue stick. Actually, it'll reduce the adhesion just a little bit and make it easier to pop off for PETG.
Yeah, well, I had thought about using the smooth build plate to see if that helped, but I'm not too sure that's gonna help that much. So I'm just sticking with what works, and that's the the textured plate. So, but I pop these together because I like to try to fit test them before I ship them out. Just make sure everything snaps together. There's no problems, and actually set my F2 over in there. Make sure my measurements are right. You would think after because this is probably about 10 that I've printed, I'd be confident in it, but I still like to try to fit test them. But yeah, it's like the A1's doing a great job. But again, I have put the new P2S in my cart and took it out, I think, twice in the past couple of days. I want it, but I don't want to buy it. Does that make sense? I don't want to spend the money on it right now. But if anybody wants one of those that doesn't have a printer or can't print it yourself, you can shoot me an email and we'll go about it that way. So, yeah. If you have a 3D printer or if you have a lasers and can make your own, then that's definitely economical. But if you don't and you still want it, I have been shipping a few of them out. So it's a little easier to do now that I'm retired. I just kind of condense everything into one trip to town. And I've got some other stuff I've got to do tomorrow in town too. So it works out.
Yeah, it's one of the things I appreciate about where we're at. For my lenses, I'm just able to leave them at the mailbox. My postman picks them up.
Yeah.
For other things, the post office is minorly out of the way on the way to or from work. So
yeah,
but I've been shipping things for a long time. So I already have like the scale and the thermal printer, and usually keep a supply of those little padded envelopes and boxes and such on hand. So
if it continues to go like it is, that's why I told Brandy, I was like, I could get me a little thermal printer that wouldn't take up that much room. It's more the supplies and the scales. I could probably get like a little desktop set. I mean, there are things that I could do, but
Yeah, it doesn't have to take up a lot of
normally-
space other than like the actual boxes and packing material, depending on what you're doing. Those can take up a bit, but
yeah. So I'm trying to avoid it, but if it continues, if the demand for me to ship them continues, that may be something that
it's
may be something I do.
it's I mean, you find the right product, I feel it's worth it, because you can price it right and whatnot. But I mean,
well, these aren't that labor intensive on me. It's just it is tying my machine up a little bit because these two pieces with my A1 running my settings that I have found that I like to be able to get this smooth finish and all that. This bottom part I think is like 2.5 hours, and then two of these little side pieces to do two of them takes about an hour.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like your time to package them up and run them to the post office versus, I mean, the printers, you just literally just let them rock, but
Yeah, but yeah, the post office, the last time I went in there, it was a little bit of a wait. I did not know that there are certain days of the week in Clanton that you do not want to go in the post office because they have less people working and they have more people coming in. So I'm having to learn those things, but all in all, it wasn't bad. Like I said, I had some stuff that I had to do for the city, and so I was on my way right past there to City Hall. I just swung in and dropped them in the mail. But yeah, this is like I said, I did order a bunch of refills. At least I thought I ordered refills, and when it showed up, it actually was spooled PETG. So I'll have plenty of spools now because I didn't realize that it wasn't all refills. It was spool included. So I got plenty of those now. But yeah,
it's good to have those on hand.
Yeah, I've got plenty now. I got to start concentrating and making sure I'm only getting refills at this point because spools are getting carried away.
Radu is saying he's got the same printer that I've been playing with and has gone through a couple spools of Elegoo on cardboard. Haven't had an issue yet. Yeah, so I was doing a print job using some white, and it was partway through, and I kept having I tried running it, and then I printed the rims, a couple different options for rims. Tried that, but it was on the same like slot 3, so I'm gonna move them around. Maybe it was just that spool, maybe it was just that slot, maybe there's other variables. Like I say, I need to try a few more variations. Good to know that you've had good luck with Elegoo. I've got a couple of those spools. I want to try that as well because I always want to make sure I give it a fair shake and I'm not doing something stupid, that it's actually the device doing something stupid and not me before I say, yeah, it's junk, it doesn't work. But like I say, I've been pretty happy with how it's functioning overall. It is really nice that you can run the heater while printing and it's all built in, and for the price, I think so far it's been nice. It's created some quality things, but I've only got probably about 25 hours of printing on it and about 10 different things. So I'm going to try to keep pushing it through this week and see what end up, because I'd like to get this launched. Yeah, I mean, it's the thing with 3D printing is sometimes some of these jobs take a while. So you set one to run and you let it go and you come back a few hours later and to get a good volume of experience, it can take some time. So, but for sure in the next, by the end of the month, hopefully as soon as I can.
Yeah, my youngest daughter decided that she's the one in the family that actually understands what some of the tools that I have can do, I guess, fully. And so she's like, Dad, I've been wanting to get this cosplay helmet right here. And I just so happen to have found where you can download it for like $9 and print it for me. And then I can paint it and make it look realistic and all this. And so I spent 8.5 hour print time today printing 1/4 of this helmet. So I've got 3 more parts that I've got to print before we can put all the pieces together of this helmet. So this will be my first really large scale build with a 3D printer. And I decided that since it's something that's this time consuming, I'm using PETG. I'm not using PLA because I'd hate to do PLA and then it, warp or twist or whatever. So I'm going to do the whole thing out of my black PETG because that's also the filament that I have the most of, because it's going to take probably to do this helmet. It's going to take a whole spool by the time it's all said and done with the supports and everything.
If she's going to do a lot of that, you're going to want to get her some gray filament. Because I'm
Yeah,
sure
well, luckily she said that the helmet, the way the color pattern is the base black is going to help her do the shading better. She's artsy, and so she's but I told her I've got primer, I've got all this different stuff, but the helmet is like basically like a black with like silver, almost like a stainless steel, like a brushed, like a Mediterranean stainless or Mediterranean nickel finish type look. So,
well, usually priming and
out
painting the gray stuff works well over time. It just gives you the consistent base. So,
oh yeah, she didn't really give me much notice. So I got 1/4 of it printed today, and I'm gonna do the other quarter tomorrow, and then the next day and the next day, because I don't those big things like that. I don't like leaving it running where I can't peek in on it every few minutes, just in case.
we got Cody stopping by to say hi. So everybody, tell Cody hi, and he's one of the people pitching into our giveaway next week, and so.
Yeah.
We're asking you to support the people who are supporting us and tell them thank you and such. So Cody, we appreciate the support. We appreciate what you do for the maker community with the CNC bits and such. And so always happy to see you around here and thanks for supporting that as well. And I think you maybe tried to call me on Friday and I was busy. So sorry if I missed that, Cody.
We got it handled. Don't worry about it. He was trying to do an image on clear acrylic with the CO2 laser and trying to shade it, and I told him, pretty much your shading is going to be modifying the LPI, and he wound up doing it, and boom, it worked.
Good,
get him a good image. So
yeah. I had a Friday. I was really punchy. My facilities director and I went to lunch. We were both kind of punchy, and by the end of the day, it was just get me home and get me away from people.
Yeah, go home. Yeah, that was it. Of course, we wound up talking a whole bunch of business about bits and running businesses and all that. But yeah, he got it straightened out, what he was trying to get figured out. And it turned out really well. He sent me a picture of it when he got done with it. It looked good. So Brad's Custom Boards is asking, what are your thoughts on the Reno now? I still like the machine overall. Now, doing tumblers with it? No, not going to be able to do that. Not without changing the controller out, which if you had this machine, and like I said, let's say you had a machine that already had a Ruida controller that had kicked the bucket or whatever, and it was economical for you to just reuse parts, that would be awesome. I don't know how many more modifications I would do to this if I were just getting started. But it's one of those things that you could, buy the machine, do some upgrades, use it to do flat materials, and then upgrade the controller and start doing tone. I mean, you could if you were more of a DIY versus bank account type person where you had more time than you had the money, you could. But that's the only hang up I've got with the machine right now is it won't do the rotary work. Everything else, it's doing a great job. The air assist upgrade has made it cuts a lot better than it did out of the box. That's the only hang up I have with it is just the fact that I can't get the chuck to cooperate with me. And I'm not saying that you can't use the chuck. You can. I mean, people have engraved tumblers with Top Wisdom controllers over the years. You can do it. It's just it takes a lot more calculation, a lot more trial and error. It's more of a calibration type operation than it is just putting numbers in Lightburn and letting it do the math for you. There's a lot heavier expectation from you, and I just couldn't get consistent results with it. Every time I would change from one tumbler to the other, I just had to test to try to get it right. I could eventually scale my image and make it work, but there's no way I would recommend for somebody to get a machine to do tumblers that's the process every time you could do a different size object. I just think there's too many machines on the market that can do a better job using Lightburn than that. But as far as the machine goes, I like it. It did a really good job on the tumblers. but it was the whole process of getting that data to make that image look right that was just a bit cumbersome. It was a pain for me, and especially somebody that's new to it that maybe doesn't have extra tumblers sitting around to practice with. It would be cost prohibitive to do the testing that I was doing, in my opinion. That's just me. But other than that, I still like the machine. I think it's a great budget machine as far as the CO2. If you're doing wood stuff and you're doing anything non-rotary that you can put into it, it does a great job. I'm very impressed with it for what they're selling it for. I mean, it does a really good job. I'd like to see the bed space. If they were to redo it today and like come out with a new machine, there's a couple things I'd rather them do. One, address the air assist issue so we don't have to. Make the work area slightly larger and fix that whole tumbler issue. Maybe put a Ruida controller in it, or
the bigger working area and the Ruida controller are going to blow your budget laser.
Yeah, it's gonna make it more expensive. But I'm just saying, as far as even if it is more expensive, I still think it would be a contender with like the Polar that I have and some of the other machines, the Hurricane. It would be a contender to compete with those with just minor tweaks.
Yeah, I mean the Polar Light that I've got, I think kind of ticks some of those boxes. It's slightly larger working area, not necessarily. It'd be nice if it was 24 inches wide instead of 20, but we'll see. I mean, you're right. It is a budget laser. If you're working with flat material, you want to work with acrylics and a lot of 1/8 inch, maybe some 1/4 inch material. The air assist upgrade is sadly needed, but it's doable. That's one thing on this Polar Light is the more I use it, it works okay in most cases, but there are times I'd like to have more adjustability on the air assist. And it's just, I don't know. I haven't torn into it to see if that's easily doable or not. But yeah, it's nice that there are some options in that sub $2,000 range, that $1,000 to $2,000 range gets you most of what you need for a bench top CO2 laser that you can, if you got to drag it inside, you can do that without, hiring a moving crew. A couple people could get this up and down some stairs without probably damaging themselves or the machine. The P3, you might need an appliance dolly and some strong people to make sure it makes it down safely. So, definitely some trade-offs there.
Yeah. Brian says, David, when you hit 50K subs, I thought last week you were at 99. No, no, I haven't seen 99 yet. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll make it there. This is a question Miss Sharon's asking. I don't know if you've answered it or not yet. Is there a chute available for the Flash Forge Adventurer 5M Pro? Are you familiar with that machine?
I imagine there is probably one out there. I mean, I was able to find one or multiple options for the various printers I've looked at. So, go on even Maker World, Thingiverse, some of those 3D printer file sharing plans, and search for poop chute, insert printer name here, and you should come up with some options. I was able to find some options for the 85X. I didn't look for the 5M, not having it, but kind of similar thing with the Anycubic machine that I've got. They have a similar kind of Maker World sharing site that's tied into the software, which is kind of nice that you can search. But a lot of them will allow you to download the STLs into your slicer and play with them. So I haven't looked for your specific one, but I would be surprised if you weren't able to find one.
Yeah. Jim, that if you're talking about the file that I made, you don't need it for the F1 Ultra. Like the F1 Ultra is sweet because you can actually put the screws through the R3 into the bed of the machine, which is really, really handy. The problem with the F2 was the fact that when you set the rotary up inside the machine, you lost Z-axis, and it anything over what was it, 50? I think it was over 50 millimeters. You had problem with it focusing. Did I miss something?
Lance Rainey says, "Hey, all, been MIA, laid up in the hospital. Appendix removed last Saturday. The 6th got moved to a larger hospital Friday. I had more procedures. A serious infection blew up." Well, sorry to hear that, Lance. I know you've been around here in this group for quite a while, so I'm sure we all hope that you get better soon. Never easy having that happen any time, but especially during the holiday season and coming up around Christmas. So hopefully you're feeling better and get that infection taken care of. So I'm glad to see you here, but rest up. Don't stay up too late listening to us.
Yeah. Trey Skiller saying being non-structural wouldn't PLA work well. PLA works pretty well, but my thing with the PLA is if you were to like let's say especially these things that I'm shipping, if I ship them and they go and they get too hot for whatever reason, when you get up to a certain temperature, PLA doesn't like to maintain its shape. And I've had that happen with some of the stuff that I've made around here. If you take it and put it in the truck, taking it somewhere and forget and leave it in there in the middle of July, when you go back to get it, it's going to look like a taco shell. So to me, PETG is just a little more structurally stable as far as heat tolerance and stuff like that. And that's why I'm moving over to it, is because like a lot of the stuff that I do, like these adapters and stuff that are pretty much always going to be in the shop, and I'm not going to be putting them in cars or shipping them or anything like that. I'm good with the PLA. But, when I'm putting something on a truck and shipping it, I mean, last thing I need is for the postal carrier to have it laying on the dash with the defroster on. And when somebody gets it, be in the corner of the envelope in a puddle. So I just, for safety's sakes, I decided to go with PETG on anything that that's going to be leaving my shop. That was my decision on that. Because like I said, right now it is cold. And if I ship something to Chicago and the carrier has the box sitting in the floor and the heat's just hammering on it all day long while they're running their route, then, it could, especially if it has weight on it, it can wind up looking like a taco shell by the end of the trip. So
I think you're more at risk of it shattering from being frozen these days.
It could be. Yeah, I did find out the other day that our UPS drivers, they don't have air conditioning in the UPS trucks, but you can tell when it gets cold because they shut those doors. They do have a heater.
It was funny. The UPS guy picking up packages from our college the other day. I'm walking out by shipping and receiving, and this U-Haul truck comes zipping in and backing up, doing that beep beep, and with the flash. I'm like, who is this and what are they doing? And the UPS guy hops out, and I'm like, oh, guys are a little low on trucks holiday season, renting out the U-Hauls.
Yeah, they do that a lot around here, especially like what's those the trucks with that little orange budget? Is it Budget Rentals? Yeah, Budget Rentals. They run around in a lot of those. I haven't seen any U-Hauls, but I've seen a lot of the little budget trucks the past couple of weeks delivering some of my stuff. And we're getting more and more of the Amazon delivery people that are actually with Amazon, like the trucks are logoed and stuff. We didn't have those up until, I'm guessing 3 or 4 months ago. They didn't run the routes through here.
Yeah, they're expanding more, but they also have a wide group of like the gig, the contract people that will, they just.
Yeah, I've met a couple of those too, because they drive suspicious vehicles.
Yeah, you just have like a random minivan pulling up, and person in a little Amazon vest hops out and delivers your package. You're like, okay.
Yeah, I had one the other day just pulled up in my driveway, and when I went to walking in the driveway, they just stopped, and I'm like, "Oh, what is this?" Because it was a suspicious looking vehicle, and then, like you said, they get out and they had on the little vest, and I'm like, "What? No, what is this?"
I mean, I guess a lot of people trust them with their food, with Uber Eats and DoorDash and such. So I mean,
yeah, you would think they would at least give them like a little, like the pizza delivery guys used to have. You know what I'm talking about? Give them something.
I don't even have those for a lot of the other gig drivers. So it costs money. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Mark Tucson's got a question for you and Cody. I'll direct that at you.
Uh-oh.
To avoid tool marks on CNC cutouts, am I better off not using a compression bit? I'm struggling trying to get clean profile cutouts with tabs, even with a profile pass. What say you?
Struggling trying to get clean profile cutouts with tabs. If you're doing profiles, I mean, you can always do the tooling offset and do that last pass and reverse the direction and all that. That'll help clean up, like especially if you're having if you've got some deflection when you're doing your cut, and you start getting those like basically looks like layer lines in there. If you do that last pass, you can even tell it to reverse and do the last pass the other direction. And that basically is kind of like using a flush cut bit on it after you get through with it. But in the software, it actually allows for that. So you don't wind up having like a kerf issue, so to speak, with it cutting off the material. That would be my recommendation. Either that, or if you don't want to do that, then maybe you're being a little aggressive and getting a little too much deflection with the cut. Maybe try cutting down your depth of cut just a little bit, because, and I see a lot of it. You have to kind of decide what your goal is when you're doing a CNC project. Because I see some of these guys like, yeah, this bit can go a ½ inch deep at 200 inches per minute and all this, and I'm thinking, hey, first of all, you better be on your A game with your hold downs if you're going to be doing that, and second, I like it for it to be clean and not have to do a whole lot of like sanding in the little cracks and stuff. So a lot of times I'm overly conservative with my feeds and speeds. Like I'll just go slow and steady at it. But the objective is to, when I get done and pull it off the CNC, maybe just hit it with a little wire brush or one of my little sanding disc things on my drill, and I'm done with it. I don't like having to sit there and hand sand and all that. So, but that would be probably what I would say, especially if it's on your profile cuts, is look at that, doing that last pass. There's a checkbox if you're using Vectric. I don't know what the other softwares, but it basically, you can select do a last pass, like full depth of cut of the material. And what it'll do is after it's cut it completely through, it basically leaves just a little onion skin extra material on there. And then once it gets cut all the way through, it'll go back and it'll go around through there, and it'll slice that right off. And it's a thin enough layer to where it can handle that full 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, whatever. It's enough. It's just enough to just shave it off and smooth it up, so you don't have to sand it. You don't have to worry about trying to sand those layer lines out of there, so to speak. That's what I do a lot of. Yeah. Now, if you're using tabs, you're going to have to, there's going to be a little touch up where the tab was, unless you got a secret that I don't. I use my little oscillating saw, and then sometimes I'll just use like my little box cutter looking thing here to cut those tabs. And you still got to go back and hit them with some sandpaper or something a lot of times. But that's all I got on that.
Yeah, no, I mean,
either bit, it's going to be the same approach in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, kind of what you were saying, you can back off your aggressiveness on your cuts a little bit, play around with that last pass. I mean, you can have too much or too little of that kind of that tolerance that you leave there for that one. But yeah, in some cases, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing like a bunch of catch-all trays and they're big enough, I just plan for it. I run a round over bit on the router. I run just a flush trim, clean things up, and then quick hit with the sander. But yeah, you want to get those out as little as possible, because it's on the inside. If it's doing it as well on any inside profile cuts, that makes it even worse to try to clean up. So the other thing I would just check is double check that you're trammed, that things are, square, perpendicular, because that can exacerbate it maybe on one side or the other. And then also just make sure there's minimal play, no play preferably in your Z axis, because all those things are going to you're going to be hunting, trying to solve that no matter what, if there's anything loose. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you get slack somewhere, and you're gonna have lines and witness marks everywhere.
Yep. Tomment says, new S1 user here. Just want to say thanks for all the very useful videos. And so that's what a lot of what we do.
Is that the X2 S1? Because there are a couple of different S1s out there. But yeah, the X2 S1 was a workhorse for me. I've still got it. I'm currently not using it because like I said, I have to rotate machines out to be able to tell you guys how they perform. I can't just use one a couple times and throw it away. So like right now, the Monport Reno is over there where my S1 used to sit. And I am quickly running out of room. I don't even have a neighbor a half mile away. Somebody got a UPS store a half mile away.
Well, so
actually, I do have two. I got two neighbors a half mile away.
I'm really bummed is that there's a kind of the local UPS hub is less than a mile from work, and they used to have a little retail drop off. You know, they had certain hours when you could drop off stuff, or you could have stuff held and you could pick it up there. But they decided to close down that shop, and now they have just a small drop box that's sketchy as heck to drop anything in. Yeah. And so now I have to go to the actual UPS store, which is in this little retail strip mall with a nightmare of a parking lot, and it's across town. So it's like there's no good way to get there. I got to go around town one way or the other through town. Whereas before I could just like, oh, I'll just drop it off before or after work, no big deal. Yeah, it was super easy. FedEx is kind of a similar situation where they're not too out of the way, but things just keep changing.
Yep. Yeah, Audrey's talking about use Shippo. No need to go to the post office. See, and y'all got to understand now. I'm on a rural route. Like we don't even have full-time postal employees necessarily. Like there's like our post office is literally the Billingsley post office is about the size of this shop. So I go to the Clanton post office, which is substantially larger than the Billingsley post office. The Billingsley City Hall is only open for their council meetings that they have or their meetings that they have or whatever. Like when I say small post office, I mean literally y'all have seen these little buildings that you can buy at Home Depot and Lowe's. That's what the post office looks like, except it's a little trailer. So it's not a major operation. Man, that heater is firing up. Let me turn that thing off.
Yeah, we have it's really too bad. They had a historic courthouse and post office has been in the town since, you know, the early 1900s. I don't remember, maybe even earlier than that. And it was owned by the Postal Service, but they sold that building and now they lease some commercial space in a building with like, I don't know, like a dentist and such. And again, like the parking lot is now a pain to get in and out of, but apparently it was cheaper and more efficient than maintaining their old building. But yeah, we do have better service here, and we do have full-time postman. I use Pirate Ship myself because then you don't pay the retail prices. You pay, you know, more of the large commercial rates. If a person does if you do more than occasional shipping, invest in a thermal printer. Those labels make it so much easier than all the extra.
Oh, I thought about getting one of those just to where I can print the labels and take them.
Yeah, it's if you do any volume of it, it just makes it so much easier. Plus, it makes if you're doing this as a business, it makes you just look just a little bit more professional to it as well. You know, so that's something to it. I mean, and think about the way you package it is part of the customer experience too. You know, if they're paying money for something, they're going to receive it from you. They don't necessarily want to see a re-wrapped Amazon box with Sharpie markers, you know, crossing things out on it. You know, you might want to factor in the cost of, you know, some blank boxes for you as well. Just, you know, keeping in mind what your product is and the value of that to your end customer, of their kind of their unboxing experience of your item. It can go a long way.
Yeah, there's the post office in Billingsley. That's 3 cars. And that's the post office. So it is not like a large establishment. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, there it is. There it is right there. And the city hall is right there. The town hall, whatever you want to call it. Let's see. Let's see if I can move it up here. Yeah. Yeah, there's the town hall right there, city hall. And you notice there's no cars there. So when I say it's a small town, I mean it's a small town. Oh, yeah.
So Anthony Rose commenting, full throttle engraving here. First time. I have a few questions. Have an Omtech AF 2028. Just got it. Really new to it. My issue I see is the designing aspects. I need help or tips where to learn. So yeah, that can be a tricky thing, and it's always best to be able to design your own items, be able to design your own products rather than relying on others' designs. It's cheaper. You don't have to pay for them, and you also don't have to worry about licensing. Commercial rights. Did they steal any intellectual property when they were designing their stuff? That being said, there are a lot of places you can look for some free files that are legit. So look at places. You can even. So Xtool has their Xtool Studio, and they have their Atom site where they have both paid for designs as well as user submitted designs. Now, some of them do need to get filtered out because any of these sites that allow users to input their own designs, whether for free or for sale, some intellectual property will slip by. So always use your judgment on anything you're getting out there. But Maker World now has a laser section. Thingiverse has some laser files. You can also find files from people on Etsy. You can use sites like Creative Fabrica and Canva to help design and create. And so what my recommendation would be is to find some of these things and look at the designs and then modify them to your needs. Both the Clack and I have various videos between Lightburn and Xtool Studio, as well as some of the other ones on some basic design, even just modifying them. So one example is you can find box generators online. Make a box of your dimensions, but add a slot to it or something, or make it a light box from candles and add your own kind of cutout for designing it. Play around with that, but there's a number of videos out there from people like David and I and others that will help you at least start understanding the tools. Now, how to get that creative juices flowing in your brain and be able to actually come up with a good design can't always help you there.
That's the hard part.
With that, sometimes,
Necessity.
Well, get ideas from people, whether it's, friends and family saying, hey, can you make this, that, or the other thing? Maybe be inspired by other creators' creations, but try not to just straight up copy and put your spin on it. But yeah, definitely you want to learn the design tools. If you're using the Omtech laser, hopefully you're using Lightburn. And there's some pretty good design tools there, and there's some good videos out there to help you kind of get started with that. So,
yeah.
But some people are artists, some people are engineers.
Yeah. Charles is asking, what do you think about the longer rotary chuck? I don't know that I've ever had a chuck from Longer. I had a roller one time, but it wasn't a chuck. So I like Longer's machines, like the B series machines. I'm a fan of those. Matter of fact, no, I ain't got one now, but I had one recently. But I haven't had their chuck.
Just Alan Jones is saying, I came in late. Have you heard anything about the Omtech Polar 2 RF laser? Not specifically. I have been following some of their teasers on some of their other RF lasers. They seem to be jumping into a whole branch of things. They've got, I think I saw maybe a DTF printer coming out and an embroidery machine. They got their RF lasers coming out. They're finally shipping their Omtech Solus, which is their dual laser, their their fiber and diode lasers. Those are coming out. So they seem to be branching out into more things, product customization and such. Now, X-Tool's been doing this as well, and some of those things have gone well. Some of them maybe are overpriced for people. So we'll see. I mean, you hate to see a company that's focused on one specific thing not branch out and wither, but also they spread themselves too thin, and we'll see how those go. But I don't have any specifics on it, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on them for some of the new products coming out. Papa Ragu says, congratulations on your 25.1 subs. Well, that's 25.1 thousand subs. But thank you. I appreciate everybody watching videos and hanging out here on the live stream and supporting that. So David also recently flipped over to 50K and some. So I don't know what's wrong with half of your audience that doesn't like me.
I don't know. I ask them all the time to go subscribe to you. It's not me. I'm not working against you. I tell them all the time, go check out your channel and subscribe.
But we appreciate everything. I mean, a few years ago, both of us were just guys hanging out in our shop, putting some videos out for a couple people, and it's grown quite a bit. So,
oh yeah, it's been a heck of an experience. And like I said, I have been able to grow a little more, but now I think a lot of that's got to do with my inability to like not focus so much on stuff. Like I get mono focused, but yeah, getting to where we are it's no small feat. Anybody that's ever had a channel that's made videos, and I know Ryan Ballard, he talks about it all the time. It's a struggle. Like and it seems like the more you try, like you intentionally try to get subscribers, the harder it is. It's when you finally say, you know what, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to do my thing and have fun. If people like it, they can follow along. That to me seems to be when you see the most growth from my experience. Now it may be different for different people, but I just come here to have fun and try to, try to make a little bit of extra money now that I'm retired, because that helps for me to have fun and not stress as much. But yeah, retirement is hopefully going to help me build mine a little faster. And unfortunately, Steve still got that whole got to go places thing going on with him. But he's going to get there.
I mean, I hear the Powerball's up to quite a big number, maybe.
Oh yeah. Hey, if you hit that, hey, just don't forget us little people. Just
yeah, if I hit that, I'm just gonna go dark
because we don't have a lottery down here, so I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be winning any lotteries.
Yeah, I think you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning twice than winning that, but
yeah,
guy can dream. Anyway,
I don't know how to take that right there. I'm just gonna leave that right there. Let y'all make your own assumptions as to what that means. I'm hoping it means he wears shorts all the time. That's what I'm hoping.
You don't know what kind of work they do.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what kind of place he works at. I mean, you never know.
WD Wade is asking, evening gents, do you have a recommendation for an entry budget machine to use for engraving, challenge, slashing commemorative coins?
That's two things that really don't go together real well, is budget and challenge coin engraving.
The more budget you go, the more time you're going to have to spend to get anything done.
Yeah.
And depending on your definition of budget, there is not an option. Because really, you can do some with a 20-watt fiber, which will get you into that maybe $1,500 range at minimum.
Yeah,
but you're going to be talking like hours per side to get minimal depth. You're really wanting to get into that 50, 60 on up watt range. To be able to do things more reasonably with time. And so there's not a whole lot of what I would consider budget.
You're still looking like an hour per side. So, I mean, depending on your settings, and that's aluminum. But yeah, I'm not great at challenge coins, but I can tell you to do engraving with depth takes time unless you get to like 100 watt, 200 watt fiber, which I may be getting a 100 watt fiber. I don't know yet. We'll see. It was mentioned, but right now I have a 60 watt, which the 60 watt does okay. Like you can do those with the 60. It does take a little time, but it's not as bad as it was when I was trying to do them with my 30 or my 20. Those took a lot longer.
So what's your recommendation, since you actually have something that is closer than my 20-watt ones?
Like if you're seriously trying to do like brass, let's say brass, aluminum, stuff like that, I think you got to go like anything less than a 30, you're not even going to be able to pull it off. If you want to do it with any speed, you're going to need to go to a 60. If you're really wanting to turn them out and do like multiples in a day, you're going to have to step it up to 100 or 200. And there's no cheap way around that. Right now, I think Com Marker's got their Titan series, MOPA. Monport's got 6. I know my 30, I got some Monport. That 60 is an OhmTech. And they're basically, as far as those machines go, 10 cents worth of difference in them as far as like how they operate. They all basically are the same. Some have autofocus, some don't. Autofocus in a fiber to me is a little bit overrated, because as long as you got the 2 dots to where you can set the focus, or you use a focus stick, you don't really have to have autofocus. Oh, it is kind of nice in some situations, because you can like, maybe get a little more exact settings with it, but I'm fine without autofocus on the fibers, to be honest. The OhmTech, I like the OhmTech. I've had really good luck with it, but I don't really do a whole lot of like deep metal engraves. I play around with stuff. Like I'll mark pocket knives and stuff like that. Matter of fact, the little pocket knife that I'm carrying today has got I got some little engravings that I did on it, just a little honeycomb pattern that I put on it just to, just playing around. But I do a lot. I do more text, like putting text on stuff, than I do actual deep engraves, because I can put text on a knife blade. I can put text on an aluminum part or whatever in like 10 seconds and make money. Whereas those coins, it takes so much time that by the time you calculate how much you're selling them for, and it's not all that lucrative to me for what I do. I would rather just literally, put somebody's like fire departments and stuff like that. They like when they get new equipment, to be able to track their assets or whatever. They like to put asset numbers on stuff, or equipment accountability, like logos or, text or whatever. Those kind of things are more what I would be leaning into than I would be doing coins, or even some like Second Amendment type stuff, knives, that kind of thing, custom tomahawks or hatchets, or just decorative like axes and stuff like that. I mean, there's some things out there, and I know what is it? Jack. I think Jack does a lot of stuff with like is it saw blades? He does a lot of like just different things. Some of that stuff I think would be pretty cool, but the coins, yeah, I don't know. It's just not my thing. You'd have to get into some, like, be able to sell them high end to make a substantial money off of them, in my opinion. If you're doing it as a hobby, or if you're just doing it like to make collector's coins, for your friends or whatever, I think that's one thing. If you're trying to do it as a business model, you're going to have to go with a lot of power to be able to have the throughput to make a day's wage, in my opinion. But that's just me. Like I said, I'm not the pro on that. You're going to have to find somebody that does a lot of those, because I play around with those, but I've never even entertained trying to like do those to make money. That's just not, I mean, I haven't found a way that I could make them consistently and fast enough to be profitable.
Vaping with K-Dog is asking, what do you think the next future machine will be between the alien cell or the cell laser? And it's a good question. I think, they're both kind of going in a little bit different directions with, the higher speed, kind of faster engraving kind of stuff. So you've got an alien cell laser behind you that you've been playing with. From what I understand, they may have started shipping the very first few Kickstarter units to people.
That's what I'm hearing from some of the folks that messaged me saying that theirs has shipped. So
yeah, so they're already getting it out there. Now it's not as they've it's a Linux-based controller with a lot of cool features on it, a lot of fast acceleration, which they're leveraging that to get their speeds and their quality. Now a cell laser is going more with that kind of hybrid galvo diode kind of setup, also mixing in an optional fiber source and such. So they're kind of a couple different veins there. I feel like a cell laser, it's been a little quiet lately. Now I know they are scheduled to be at CES, and David and I are going to be there in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
So we're definitely going to be trying to stop by and check out what they've got there, where they're at. At least David has the hands-on experience there with the alien cell to speak to that one. So hopefully, maybe in January we'll have a little better picture of how both are doing and going. But as far as the next future machine it's hard to say. But I do feel like one of the cool things is you're seeing some newer features coming out, but I think that's going to, as we're seeing with some of the things David's been finding out with the alien cell, is light burn compatibility is going to get trickier. And it might take a little more time with certain lasers and or just not be possible with some of the features, such as, Xtool has tried to stay committed to that, but on some of their latest ones, they're just like, listen, it's just not going to work. So that might be one of the caveats to some of the newer, smarter lasers coming out, is you're going to get more locked into proprietary software with some of them.
Yeah, because there's only so far you can go with a typical G-code controller. I mean, some of these functions and some of the things that people are trying to do with these machines, you're going to have some pretty complex computing done. You know what I mean? It can't just necessarily, I mean, I guess you could have it like have a built-in controller computer and have just a basic G-code for the machine. Maybe you could do that, but it is getting far more advanced than what it used to be in the past with the speeds and the accelerations and all that stuff that these machines are doing nowadays. Steve says that town is around 2,000 people, and Steve just a little quick Google there. In 2020, the census said it was 125. 2023, they're down to 71, and the median age is 65 years old. So there you go.
You can't trust everything on the internet.
That's about right, though, because it's the houses that are there are aging out, and it's it was a railroad town, and when everything shifted to the interstates and the highways, it just, like, Billingsley just fell apart. Like, it's very, very small now. But yeah, I don't know. I think Alien Cell has a really good, I think they got a good plan so far. I think their software is pretty solid. It does still need some polishing. There are some little things and hiccups here and there, but for the most part, the bed size for a closed diode laser, I don't recall anybody having one with a bed that big. That's a diode. I mean, the Craft was a pretty good sized bed. The S1, it was decent, but I think they've got the largest out of the box enclosed machine that I've ever seen.
Big Acmer machine was enclosed.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, kind of, with a curtain. As a cat didn't jump in the middle of it. But they've got a good thing going, I think. It's going to depend a lot on how well they're accepted in the community as far as the machine and how popular it gets. Because the more popular a machine gets, of course, the more money they're going to spend on innovating it and, peripherals and stuff like that. If it's a flop right out of the gate, it's going to take the wind out of its sail. So I'm thinking the Alien Sail is going to do okay, but we'll have to see how they perform. Maybe this time next year, if they're still advancing, then that'll be a good indicator. But I think they will. I think they're going to be fine. As long as they don't try to outgrow their sales, I think they'll be fine.
Important question of the night. David, at what sub-level do you need to dance again? That was a great moment in history. You should link to that video for the folks.
Well, I don't know. If I hit 100,000, y'all might see me dance if I can. If I'm still able to dance by then. If I keep falling apart, I might not be able.
That's so you can hit 100,000 twice, right?
Sure. Ryan said he's only 99K away. And I want you to know, Ryan, I looked everywhere in my Hobby Lobby in Prattville for filament, and I can't find it. So I'm not too sure we have it.
I haven't stopped at our local Hobby Lobby recently to check. We do have a 3D printing store in the local mall, which I loathe and have avoided. I may be going there once a year, but I do want to stop in there because there's also I think right next door to it, there's a store that's opened up. It's called like Minnesota Makers or Minnesota Handmade or something like that. And it's one of these kind of semi-consignment shops, but it's all kind of local makers and crafters and such that you kind of get your corner of the shop, set your stuff up on, and then the overall store takes a cut kind of thing. But thought I'd check both of those out because I know the local 3D printing store does both. They sell 3D printed items, but they also stock a fair amount of filament. And I haven't really gone in to really check out what brands and what types. And a friend of mine did it. He said it was very similar to the Overture stuff he gets on Amazon as far as price and quality. So I'd have to check that out.
Not bored said, have you compared videos that you drop? I do drop more videos, but now I do a lot of shorts. I have fun with the shorts. So I do a lot of those.
And admittedly, David drops way more content than I do.
Because
he's just, that's his entire focus. He gets home and that's what he does.
Yeah, I seriously monofocus. Like that's my thing. I don't watch ball games. I don't watch football. I don't watch basketball. I haven't been hunting. I haven't been fishing. I'm in my shop. If I'm not asleep or got somewhere that I've got to go that's like important, like with the kid or something like that, pretty much I'm in my shop. I did, however, get 10 hours last pay period with the city, but most of that was for being the sound guy at the Christmas tree lighting. So, and I had to do some editing and some other stuff for them. But yeah, that was all technical assist stuff. But I managed to get 10 hours from my part-time job with the city. So mostly because my wife told me that she needed help with the event. So I got nominated.
I'm trying to get caught up a little closer to real.
Yeah, I'm trying, but it's
so tough. We may have missed a few comments or questions, but we sometimes get a little behind here. So,
he's got this wrong. It's Steve gets all the cool toys. Steve gets them, not me. I don't look at that P3 sitting over there behind him. I don't have one of those. Who just got like 2 new 3D printers?
Just use a P3 back here.
Well, it's back there somewhere. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. Like it's the size of a small SUV.
Yet you don't see it.
But then again, if I had it, I'd be in trouble because I literally have no room. I am out of room. I've got to get rid of some stuff. Like I've got to do something. It's not, and I got flowers in here now because it's down below freezing, and when it gets down below freezing, I get reefs and flowers, or not reefs. What you call them? Ferns. you can't quite see them. You can see the bottom of one of them over there. But yeah, I get ferns and flowers in here when it gets down cold. So
We don't have any live insects up here.
oh, we got plenty of those little Chinese beetle things down here that bite. They look like ladybugs, but they bite.
Yeah,
But
they're
we
all
did
dead up there.
find if you have those, if you're in Alabama and you have those, go to Tractor Supply and get some Bronco stable spray. It's made to keep flies like out of your horse stables, but either there's just a really big coincidence or it actually kills these little Chinese beetles. Because every time my wife she sprayed them with it, like sprayed it around our front porch to try to keep them run off, thinking it might repel them like it did the flies, and then came back outside later that day and they were dead all over the porch. And she's done that twice. And both times she sprayed the porch, came back, there were just dead ones everywhere. So we're not sure if it's just a coincidence, but it happened twice. There's got to be something to it. And I'm not sure what is in that Bronco spray, but it apparently they do not like it.
Rick's is saying I have a longer 510 watt and 520 watt. Both will not close a circle or zeros and cleanly. It's always offset by a line width or so each time using Lightburn. So not sure where to look in Lightburn for settings. I think you're going to want to start looking at mechanical things first. There's a rod that connects the two sides, and you might have something slipping there. You might have some belts that are a little bit loose. So double check all of the set screws on all the gears and pulleys for the timing rod that connects the two side rails, and double check that there's not too much but not too loose of tension on the belts as well. Start there before looking in Lightburn.
Yeah, another thing too that I have run across that can cause that is if your gantry is not completely square with the frame, it can cause some issues because one side's further up than the other.
Yeah.
So check that as well. But I'm with Steve. I would say 9 out of 10 chances that it's mechanical, not software. Because the longer 5, I've had one. I know lots of people that have had them. The software is pretty much, I mean, they know what size stepper they're putting in there. They know what the calibrations are. The chances of that being wrong is not as good as the chances that something didn't get tightened or something's out of square, something like that. So, yeah, I would 9 out of 10 say it's going to be a mechanical issue somewhere. And you could even just have the belts over tensioned because a lot of people think that they need to be tighter than they really do. I think I've probably seen more people with belts that were too tight when they assembled their lasers than I have people with machines whose belts were too loose. Because it's our tendency to just crank down on it and like, that's tight enough right there. Especially with that timing rod, you can actually bend that thing if you tighten them too much.
Mm-hmm.
EMT, it depends on what we're doing and how big it is. Typically, I have them bring stuff to me. If I have to go somewhere to do it, it's going to depend. Like if I'm going to do a bunch of metal stuff or a bunch of metal / plastic stuff, I've got a couple machines I can take. But if it's a big enough job, of course, I'll just take one of my galvos and load it up, take it with me. Cause those are, the chances of a galvo getting hurt in the back floorboard of my pickup truck going down the road, it's not that great. So I've got the 30 watt that I don't really keep connected. So I could throw it in the back of the truck. I've also got the laser pecker. I've got my F1, which I've actually F2 now. But, any of those little small lasers would work for, marking most materials. But typically I have stuff brought here. Unless it's, like I said, unless they're wanting to inventory an entire fire station and put, like every hydrant wrench and every Halligan tool and everything, then I would go set up at their place. And I've had one fire department that was what they wanted, to where they wanted to do everything in the building. And so that's where you get to where you're like, okay, we're not going to charge you per engrave. I'm going to charge you so much for the day. Like from the time I get there, this many hours, this is what it costs you, because your guys can bring me the stuff and I can put the marks to it. Yeah, Chris, I would, like I said, before confirming all the mechanical stuff, I would probably avoid trying to calibrate the axes, because I'm highly unlikely that that's going to be the case of it, in my opinion. Incorporating AI into machines. Verl's asking, do you know of any laser manufacturers incorporating AI into their machines? Most all of them that are coming out with their software now have a plug-in for file design and stuff. So like most all of them are using AI powered back end in their software for certain things, image processing, file design, file creation. Like it's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah, I still have mixed feelings about some of the stuff. It's pretty cool for some things, but it's a pain sometimes.
I mean, there are some good uses for AI, but yeah, I've the amount of resources we're putting into people making just some like really stupid fake videos is really frustrating. But yeah, no, you're right. You're seeing it more in the software right now. I mean, I'll be curious to see what we might see in the future, because like there's a lot of 3D printers who through the camera, they'll use AI algorithms to detect issues such as stringy or, like a adhesion issues or things that it kind of goes, wait, we might want to stop what we're doing here and make an alert. I'd be curious to see some of that feedback put into lasers as far as, some of their flame detection and other things, but also maybe, just the efficiency of the cut, kind of how you have flow compensation on 3D printers. Maybe they'll be better at detecting, the efficiency of the cut between cameras top and bottom and other sensors that'll see that it is getting through or it isn't. Some of that stuff could be kind of cool, to where before you lift the material, have it tell you, hey, we don't think it cut all the way through. Would you like to do a second pass, kind of stuff? So,
yeah. Ricks, if it's more than likely, if it's a tension issue, it sounds like, depending on which, you're gonna have to figure out which axis is on, but you got your X and your Y axis. So whichever one's coming up narrower is more than likely the one that you're going to have the issue on. So just when you turn your project, yes, it's gonna stay with that physical aspect of the machine, even if you rotate the design. If it's a perfect circle and you rotate it, if your X-axis is the problem, then the X-axis is going to continue to be the problem. If the Y-axis is the problem, then it's going to stay with that axis, no matter which 360 degrees. If it's a circle and you rotate it, that axis is going to continually either come up short or come up long, whichever it may be. Typically, they end up being short because it's usually a friction issue with the drive, and it's losing steps, not gaining them.
Guy Martin's asking, either of you guys getting the new X-Tool UV printer? We haven't heard anything on it. We've been invited to check it out at CES, so that'll be kind of our first look. And then I guess we'll see. X-Tool has been kind of just random with their stuff. I mean, neither of us were willing to sign any sort of like exclusivity contract with X-Tool, so that's more of where they're feeling with their what they have for their units and where they'll get the bang for their buck. Typically speaking, with some of their lower end lasers, we're likelier to get them because that's strong audience for us and what our background has been. And some of these kind of offshoot tools, it's going to be less. Now, the fact that I have the UV printer and that experience, maybe that gives me some points towards it or not, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I don't know. And a lot of times too, some of the stuff that they come out with, it just doesn't fit into what we do. And I don't really have anywhere to put one. To be honest with you, you had to go in the house. So you never know. You never know.
You know, the thing with UV printers is the whole ink management stuff. It's not the resin, the ink resin. It's kind of like 3D printing resin. You don't want to get it on your skin. The solvent that they're using in the cleaning tank can be a bit corrosive to things. It's not. There's some risks and issues with it, and the whole print head ink management system is expensive, and so you got to have either a lot of money that you're willing to just blow on it, or you got to have some use case for it. Now, I do think it kind of definitely ups your game in being able to customize products. You can do, what we can engrave on our lasers, you can do full color with UV printers. Now, there are caveats to that in that, it is not necessarily food safe. So you got to be careful what you put it on that might be in contact with food. It needs certain adhesion promoters to stick to certain, shiny and glossy and smooth materials. So it's not 100% just like slap a photorealistic image on anything. But it does open up a lot of opportunity to, do some cool product customization on random items like phone cases and such that, so it is interesting seeing more of them coming out with it. But yeah, I think if you're very much into the product customization business, it's something to look at, but also know that you're going to want to keep that machine busy, keep the ink flowing through it, or you're going to find yourself with a lot of maintenance costs.
Yep. Yeah, Gimp, I live, my mailing address is in Billingsley. I technically live out in the county in Chilton County. So I'm technically not in a city or a town where I live. That's just the post office that I get my mail through is there. But I worked in the city of Montgomery, which is the capital of Alabama, as well as I worked for the sheriff's office here, which is about 47,000 people, I think, in Chilton County. And I retired from Clanton PD, which is 20-something thousand in Clanton. So that's not where they don't even have a police force in Billingsley. The sheriff's office handles it. So there are no Billingsley police officers. Let's see. This is a no-brainer. What type of laser would be the best to engrave powder-coated tumblers and achieve nice, clean lines? CO2 is the boss when it comes to powder-coated tumblers. I have tried them all. Yes, you can do it with a fiber. You can do it with a blue laser. You can even do it with a UV. But all three of those lasers have a higher probability of marking the stainless steel than the CO2 laser does. Not that you can't mark stainless necessarily with a CO2, but it's a lot easier to get clean, smooth looking results, no matter what the color of the powder coat, without damaging the actual stainless steel underneath. And like I said, I've tried all of them. I've tried fibers. I've tried blues. I've used blues. The X-Tool S1 was my go-to for tumblers, but I knew if I went from a white tumbler to a black tumbler to a red tumbler to a baby blue tumbler, I knew how to adjust the power to still get good results. But given the option, I would much rather use a CO2 than a blue laser for tumblers. In a perfect world, a CO2 Galvo would probably be the most effective and fastest way to do it. But I don't have one of those yet. I'm working on it. I've even thought about getting me a CO2 source and slapping it in that 30 watt over there.
North Alabama Smokes asking, getting tired of glue pockets and this cheap Amazon 6mm plywood. Where's the best place to get like veneered MDF sheets? Needs to be at least 12 by 18 by quarter inch. Your best source is going to be seeing what you have at maybe like a local hardwood dealer or a local lumber supply. They probably can provide you the best selection and price overall. They may charge you if you got to have them break it down, and they may have to special order it in, but they're going to have access to more options to bring it in. It's great when they have it in stock and something they have on hand, but that's always what I would recommend, because if you can find a local retailer for that stuff, they're really going to be able to help you find more consistent stuff. Now, if you need a mail order, it's going to cost you some more. 12 by 18 by quarter. I want to try to remember. Home Depot has their Pure Bond plywood packs that have like an MDF core, and they have a few different varieties of veneers, and I think they're more like 12 by 19 something and close to a quarter inch. So you can look at that. Unfortunately, True Flat is 1/8 inch, but they have a few varieties of their MDF, and then there's kind of that UV printed veneer. There are places online like, there's a place like out of Arizona that offers like Baltic birch plywood and a few others. I've heard, Jeffrey Lapierre, you mentioned Craft Closet. I think doesn't Eric at Valley Forge, he's talked about them in the past as well.
Craft Closet, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't personally tried them, but I've heard other people say it. So
he seems to be pretty happy with it.
But yeah, I if you have a local hardwood or lumber dealer that talk to them, see what kind of plywood they have. They might be able to get you some samples or get some stuff to test. That they're probably going to be your best bet. Otherwise, you're going to have to look at online retailers and source. You're probably not going to find it at a Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's per se. You're going to need to go to more of a specialty lumber store.
Yeah. Richard, that's what I'm working on this week. I've got they finally got me the liquid that you got to have to do the spherical crystals. I'm trying to come up with a good STL to go inside there because I don't want to waste those crystals. I've been wasting enough of them, so I'm trying to find what I want to do. And what I thought about doing was trying to find like a snow globe scene STL and putting it inside one. I thought that would be kind of neat, but I haven't got me an STL yet. That's one of the things that I'm going to be working on this week, hopefully with the lasers. I had to get the alien cell video. I had to at least get one video done with it. I'm still running it. I've got to move it to where I can do some stove covers this week also. But I'm probably just going to bring my little lift thing in here and lift it up, roll it over there out of the way, do my stove covers, and then put it back. Because I'm running out of tables. I need to build a table. I have in my head designed a table that's 4 foot by 4 foot basically to go here, that would underneath the top basically be a laser enclosure for the 120 watt glacier. But I don't know that I'm going to be doing that now. It's kind of busy. I got other stuff going on, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that right at the moment. I had planned on modifying my A70 and making it into a wide-bodied machine, but Adam Stack tends to think that the process is going to be more complicated than what I'm thinking it's going to be. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I wanted to take and make a wider, longer machine. So we'll see. But there again, if Alien Cells Riser comes out, I mean, all I really got to have for my stove cover is 30.5 wide to be able to slide that thing somewhere. So there may be something coming with that. I don't know. I'm waiting to see what their riser looks like. So the shop may be going to get to do a whole big overhaul. We'll see.
Gray Vikings asking a little bit more on the AI conversation. Steve, have you seen AI starting to overrun your school yet? I listened to a podcast recently that predicted teachers are going to be replaced. AI will be much smarter than them in the near future. There's a lot of talk about it at the college, but the college I work at, it's a community college, and it's primarily it was for the first nearly 50 years of its existence was more of a trade school technical college. It's only been in the past 20 years or so that we went more the community college aspect to try to support a cheaper option for students getting there into college and having transferability into four-year universities. So you're talking about nursing, you're talking about welding, machine tool careers, automotive repair, auto body repair, HVAC guys. They're learning about it and how it integrates into their tooling and their programs, but it's hard to have an AI teach nursing etiquette and, patient care and such. There's definitely aspects to it that are being looked at, and more so on the business side of how can we be more efficient on the operations and management side of things. But it's definitely a tool that people need to figure out how to utilize, and more of the agentic models that act as more of an assistant to kind of say, hey, we're seeing these trends, and we're seeing this kind of things come through your system, and we're seeing these issues with students in an advising and enrollment mode. So let's get this information to them in a more timely manner, but not so much of replacing the actual teaching and education side of it. I think YouTube is a far more competitor and threat to various education models, in the fact that there's so much you can learn. Now, you do have to filter out what is good and bad on there, but you can learn a lot from just watching a lot of YouTube videos. Now, you're going to learn a lot of bad stuff with it too, but overall, I mean, education for people who are digitally accessible is, there's a lot of learning that's available to you. Now, is it credential learning? Is it going to help you get a job? That depends. We're starting to see more companies and more places not necessarily require full degrees and such. So that's something that's I think is actually good in some cases, even though I work in higher education, and you'd think that'd be against my well-being and such. But I don't feel we need to put people through education that's not helpful to them, where a certificate in certain on-demand skill training is what they might need. So EMT Dave's asking, when you do tool marking, do you charge by the piece or batch of number?
That's going to, like I said, it's going to depend on how they want to do it. Typically around here, a lot of the guys like that have wanted me to do marking on different stuff, I have a minimum. Like if I fire up a laser, even if they just stop by, it's $15. Regardless of what it is. So sometimes, like if I'll have somebody that's like, hey, I really want you to put my name on this. And, but like for the fire departments and stuff like that, if they were wanting me to do like a whole bunch of stuff and it was going to take a half a day, it's going to be this is how much it's going to cost you. If I get there at 8 and I leave at 3, this is your cost. And I'll do as much as I can do with one machine in that period of time. And then I'll go. If you drag your feet bringing the stuff to me, because a lot of times they're having to get stuff off a truck, they bring it to you, you mark it, they put it back on a truck, and then they get another piece. And if they drag their feet, that's not on me. I'm basically getting paid by the hour. But a lot of times I'll have folks, that'll want, like, especially guys that are mechanics or something like that might be like, hey, I bought this new adapter that you got to have to pull the ball bearings off of a 76 Chevy, and it cost me $800, and can you just put my initials on it right here for me? Something like that. Sure. Especially if it's something that I ain't got to worry about messing up, because, you just zip and it's done. Then I'll just do like hey, quick burn, give me $15 and we'll rock on with it, or $20, $25, or, if it's a whole box of tools, I may tell them, hey, I'll mark all of them for, they're not going to pay you $150 to mark a $50 box of tools. Not likely. But, just especially if it's little things that are easy. Now, sometimes people get their feelings hurt because I'll be like, hey, it's going to cost you $50 for me to mark that. And they're like, what? But it's because if I mess it up, it's going to cost me $50 to replace whatever it is. And they're like, and then when they see the machine just like literally just like zip, zip, they're like, that was $50. I'm like, yeah, but it went well. If it hadn't have went well, then, I've got that liability of I just destroyed whatever you handed me. And I had one lady brought a locket over here and wanted it engraved. It was gold. I'd never done gold. So she brought me a piece of gold to practice with, and we did the practicing, did some settings, found the settings that worked. I engraved it. It was a little not where I wanted it. Like, it was just barely not centered the way I wanted it to be done. And I freaked out, but I didn't realize that this lady, like, that's what she did. She made jewelry. So, like, after she did that, I made myself a blank and set up a jig and all that. The next day, she went home and buffed it and polished it. You couldn't even tell where I'd marked it. Went back and marked it again, and then when she told me at the end of the job how much that thing was worth, my heart hit my feet. Now she paid me $100 to do it. I mean, and she was very happy with the job. But when she asked me about it, I'm like, I've never engraved gold, and I'm not sure how it's going to go. But like I said, she made jewelry for a living, and that's what she did. And she's like, I've got plenty. I can fix it. You can't mess this little piece of gold up that I can't fix it. And I'm like, okay, we'll bring it, And so we got it done. But she told me how much that piece of gold was worth. I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never done it had you told me that before we did it, because it just wasn't, even at $100, it just wasn't worth the risk. But with her being kind of a maker of sorts too, she's like, I just want to see if you can do it. And I want to do it. I think it'll be unique. It'll be cool. And so we did it. But my heart hit my feet when she told me, I think it was like $1,900 for this little locket. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had a buddy of mine who is a retired FBI firearms instructor. He was my sniper instructor for like 3 years. He reached out to me and he's like, hey, I'm building a SBR and I need, I got to have it stamped before I can go any further, before I can put any parts in it. I got to have my serial number and my trust and everything put on it. And so he brought it by and marked it. And, I didn't think nothing of it because it's like an AR lower, I mean, those things are cheap, right? And not this one. It was like a $5,000 lower that was like some experimental company that he was friends with had made. And he told me this after we had done it. But yeah, you never know. Sometimes it's best not to know how much something costs because it makes you nervous.
Well, and that's the thing. Sometimes you just need to tell them that this is on you. I'm willing, I've done my research. This is how it should work. I've got this all set up. You hit the button and
hey, I do. Like my buddy with the lower, I had the pedal. I actually had the pedal set up. I had it framed, had everything like where it was at. I'm like, hey, look, this is where it's going to go. If everything looks good, all you got to do is take your foot and hit that pedal right there. And he took his foot and hit that pedal, and it just that way. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, you're the one that hit the button, not me.
Yeah.
But it turned out really, really good because what it was he was getting ready to take it to get it coated, and it had to have all of his information on it before he could go any further. Like, because there comes a point to where if it's not serialized, it's illegal. And so he was at that point to where the serial numbers had to be put on it. And it worked out really nice. Luckily I had some aluminum stock that I was able to practice with and dial in the perfect settings. And it turned out really good because I think it was it 3,000th it had to be even after coating. And the coating was going to be like so many thousandths of an inch thick. And so we wound up going basically like 5 thousandths deep with it just to make sure that it was deep as it needed to be. And it turned out great.
Radu's asking, not having either, I don't know. Is it possible easier to do challenge coins on a CNC?
Yeah, it's possible.
It's doable. I mean, you have to have the right bits, and then with anything CNC related, since you're using a physical router bit, there's size and geometry to that, which is going to dictate the level of detail. And then, can it mill the material you're working with? Brass being softer. I mean, it's still a pretty durable metal, but it can be engraved by bits. But to get the fine detail, that can be tricky. Lasers are probably quote unquote easier if you have the right equipment. Because you're not worrying about, hold down method. You're not worrying about right bits. When you've got a bit into material, you've always got that kind of material interference. You could damage the bit. You can move the material. Whereas the lasers are just, using photon power to ablate it away. So it's but it might be cheaper. You could definitely get by with a cheaper machine on a CNC to do some engraving on metal. Just not saying you can get the same detail and the same kind of cool effect that you can with the lasers.
Yeah, and either way, you're gonna have to like put it in a tumbler or some kind of, because you're gonna have like with a CNC especially, you're gonna have witness lines and stuff in the metal that you're not gonna want.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's gonna be a lot of post production work to be done to it too, and I think lasers have less post production than a CNC would, but you can do them either way. I mean, they've been doing those things with casting and CNCs for a long time. Joseph saying, what would a decent CO2 be a decent CO2 laser to do with tumblers? So far, the ones that I've had, the P2 was not my pick because the P2 just the software made it very difficult for me. I'd have to say my own tech so far has done a really good job with the way I've got it set up, but no, that's not out of the box. And the Atom Stack Hurricane does a good job because Atom Stack basically they make a rotary to go with their machine. Now the new rotary is a little shorter and stumpier than the old one. I wasn't really crazy about that part, but you could still use the old one if you needed to as well. What do you think? I know you're experimenting right now, matter of fact, aren't you?
Yeah. If you're getting one specifically to do tumblers, I would probably look at something that's more of a cabinet style, that it's got the depth built into it. Because while I should be able to make this one work, it means I have to take the bottom out. It means I have a lot of open air. It means it's not going to contain the vapors from blasting that the coating off, and you don't like to inhale that stuff. And you don't want to necessarily have to block it up. It's nice just to be able to drop the bed down, lock your chuck in place, and go. So, really like the Maker series, the Ohm Tech that I had.
That would be a good one too.
It's you don't need a lot of bells and whistles to do tumblers. Now there are some cool things. The P3 has its kind of auto measuring setup, and they've got it chucked in. I'm still kind of playing around with how well that works and the process. I do hope to do a video on tumblers with the P3 and the RA3, but that's an expensive way just to do tumblers. Any of these kind of basic Ruida based CO2 cabinet style machines in a 50-60 watt will burn through tumblers all day long for a third of the price of, say, the X-Tool P3. You just got to make sure you get your rotary set up. You're going to have to probably set up some sort of alignment jig or plate or something to help lock that in. But once you kind of get that going, then you drop it in, you get it set up, and you go.
Oh, this Reno with the appropriate controller would be a boss. And
perimeter alert, driveway.
I got somebody coming to pick up some stuff. But the Reno over here would be a boss if it wasn't for that controller being limited. So I got these right here. I made these. These are the ones that I designed the other day in the alien cell. Yep, got those done. This gentleman is coming by to pick these up real quick on his way home from church. But yeah, it's I like the Reno 45 for tumblers as far as the mechanical aspects of it. That Top Wisdom controller, that was a bit of a. I like the controller for doing flat materials. It works great. I did not know that it was that limiting when it comes to tumblers.
Well, and it should work fine with a roller rotary because there isn't the math involved.
Yes.
So that's really what it's geared towards. They wanted to keep it budget friendly. It just limits you to that style, which is also limiting in how it works. If you've got just straight,
let me walk this outside.
If you've got just straight, normal, round objects that aren't tapered or whatnot, it's going to work fine. But yeah, it's the trade-off there, getting a cheaper, more budget machine, but has limits to it. So yeah, if it's occasional, some of these cabinet benchtop machines like this OhmTech Polar Light will work okay. I'll know more once I kind of get it dialed in with how well it works with random chuck rotary. But if you're going to be doing a lot of them, I'd at least, like, if you're looking to buy a machine to do primarily tumblers, I would get a good CO2 machine that's got enough depth and not too many annoyances. It has a quality controller, but doesn't need to have autofocus and all that other jazz. That's the route I would go.
Yeah, autofocus, not a concern, because more than likely you're going to want to play with the focus anyway on tumblers to, find that sweet spot, because a lot of times focus is more important than speed and power when it comes to tumblers. But yeah, like I said, physically speaking, I love the Reno for it. Like, I got my little jig set up in there and everything, but that controller is limiting. Now, I have found that I can purchase a controller for it, and I don't know if I'm going to do that or not yet. I'm waiting to see, because there's some other machines on the horizon. I don't want to get too heavily invested in this machine and then, something else come up. So I don't know yet. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Now, yeah, if you're really going to open up a tumbler business, then the one laser vertigo would definitely be a way to go.
That thing's pretty sweet.
Perimeter alert delivery box.
It's basically a CO2 laser on its side, is what it boils down to, with the chuck in the bottom of it, and that would be neat.
EMT Dave's asking, what's the pain for the RA3? Will it work on the PS or P2S? It should work with P2S. The thing I'm running into with the P3 is trying to get all of their automated wizardry to work right. And so it keys into a certain spot. You got to move the laser over. It's got to detect the head of the rotary, and then it will go through and try to scan with LiDAR the actual complete contour shape of the cup. And then it'll give you a 3D modeling of that, and then making sure things line up and are dimensioned right, that it did its measurements right. So this is where sometimes the new smart laser needs to work through some...
He needs to have a dumb override switch.
And it does. You can turn a lot of that off. It's just sometimes when it's built to work around the smart tools, it's a little bit trickier to turn them off and work just straight and standard with it. So this is one of those scenarios of, I need to make sure that I'm not doing something wrong. I need to make sure that there's maybe not a bug in the software, that it's miscalculating something wrong. I just haven't had a lot of time. I've only tried 2 or 3 tests with it and kind of went, okay, I'm not doing something quite right. And so I'm just at the phase of trying to figure out what that is, whether it's me or the software or the hardware.
Yeah, I did see where they had that machine, the P3, and they had basically like 3 or 4 of the rotaries, but they had them connected. So it was like one big long roller. It wasn't a chuck, but it was one big long roller. And there was like 3 tumblers on the roller, and it was engraving them. That to me seemed like it's risky on a roller, because there's nothing to prevent them from walking one way or the other. But
right,
it looked cool for marketing. But I'm thinking the whole time, if that thing gets a little bit of wobble, it's going to walk one way or the other, and you've just ruined a tumbler. So I prefer a chuck. Now, if you could put 3 chucks in there, okay, maybe we're on to something. Gray Viking, as I have said before, if I could design a laser, I would like a CO2 fiber blue, like 3-in-1. Like, I use them all. That's the thing, is different materials, different projects call for a different wavelength laser. Now, if you're just wanting to get into lasers, and you're wanting to do some stuff and make a little bit of money, do some customization, and you can only get one laser, I honestly think either a blue or a CO2 is the way to start off, depending on whether you want to do clear acrylics and glass. If you want to do clear acrylics, glass, wood, stuff like that, and other acrylics, then you need to go CO2. If you're just wanting to do like wood and slate and cork and stuff like that, then you could make do with the blue. But if your first laser, unless you like work in a like say a firearm shop or a jewelry store or something like that, I don't think a fiber would be a good first laser. I think that's like I said, unless you have really special eyes, because the stuff that I do, the most of it is with wood, acrylics, clear acrylics, glass, acrylic awards, stuff like that. So, and tumblers, of course. Tumblers kind of got me started doing laser stuff, but I did them on a blue diode at the time, my X1 10 watt, which was painfully slow, but I got it down to where I cut out all of the prep time, and I did pretty well. And I was able to that's how I bought my second machine, was doing tumblers, because I got to where I was waiting on the machine so much. I'm like, I need another machine so I can do twice as many tumblers in an hour. And so I bought my second machine.
I mean, to answer that question, if I'm designing a machine, I'd probably skip the diode and go with CO2, because if we're not talking about it needs to be a budget machine.
Yeah.
I can do most everything I need to do with a CO2 that I could do with a diode. Now, certain engravings aren't going to be as easy to get as dark with CO2 over a diode, but for what I do is a good mixture of cutting and engraving. That's going to give me the most flexibility. And I would say that's, out of what I do, is where I'm at. Like you said, I don't do as much in the metal engraving and whatnot there, just because it hasn't been as high a demand for my personal stuff or what I push. But you never know. I mean, if like you say, if you're working in a customization shop and such, then that could quickly switch to fiber/UV over, CO2 for cutting and such. So,
yeah. Guitar Greg 1015 says Clack just picked up an ongoing engraving job for an indoor sports complex, engraving the plates on trophies. Do you charge a setup fee for business cards, and how much per side for aluminum card? Well, there's a lot of variables in there. If you're new and you need business, your prices tend to be better than if you're well established and can't keep up. So depending on where you are in that power curve, as far as my business is just getting started and I have 0 customers, you tend to give better deals than if you're at that point to where I can't do any more work, because then you get to the point to where you try to price stuff high enough to where they're, if you have to do it, it's going to be very much worth your time. And when I do stuff, a lot of times, depending on who it is, if it's another business that could help me pick up other work, I'll cut them a break. If it's one of those things that I can literally set the job up and tell it to run and go do something else, then I got a little more flexibility. If it's a job to where it requires me to stay there with it, babysit it, and have hands on, then the flexibility of what I charge is definitely not going to be as much, because if it keeps me busy and keeps me occupied, I can't be making, 3 or 4 machines going on different jobs if it keeps me that busy. So I would say you just got to figure that one out. First of all, get what they'll pay you. If they'll pay you $100 a card, get it, Typically the last set of cards I did, I $1 a card is what I charged. That was for 2-sided engraved metal business cards. That was really cheap. It was another business. That was one of those things to where I don't have a lot of people that are buying those. So I thought, okay, I can do this one fairly cheap, get the word out there. And as they come in, then I can slowly increase the price if I need to slow down demand. Klein the other day, Klein was doing some little things for Christmas, and he told me what he was going to do, what he's going to charge. And I'm like, dude, I think you need to charge at least another $1 or $2 more on those. I think that's a little too cheap. And he's like, no, I feel like I'm doing okay, because I'm just sitting down there watching a ball game, letting them run, And I'm like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do it. Well, he wound up having to do 200 and something of them at that price. And if he'd have charged another dollar or two per unit, he'd have made an extra, $400 off of doing those things. And it wouldn't have slowed his demand down any. So you have to find that balance between will they pay it? And, because folks tell me all the time, the best way to slow down your business if you start getting too busy is raise your prices, because you'll still be making the same amount of money even if you're doing less work. And I have found that there is truth in that. There is definitely truth. The busier I am, the more expensive I am, is what it boils down to a lot of times. Because this is not, but now keep in mind, I'm not trying to support my family off what I make out here, okay? This is a glorified hobby / small business that I reinvest the money into my business. I don't necessarily have to have it to pay my bills. Your situation may be different. Now, I still try not to just totally give away my entire day. I try to make money, but I'm not out here fighting for scraps either. So there's a difference. And I have enough people that, like, somebody can ask, hey, who can make this? And I'll have 10 people on Facebook tag my business page. And so I have no shortness of work. Like, I send work to client, I send work to other people regularly, because I don't, like I said, it starts getting to the point to where I can't keep jobs caught up. It starts getting to where it's not fun to me anymore. I'll outsource it to somebody else and try to share the love a little bit. But Klein wound up doing 200. I think he said the other day he was like 230 of those little gingerbread ornament things he made. And if I told him, I was like, dude, you realize if you don't only charge $1 more for those, you would have made $200 more this weekend instead of having to set you $200. I mean, that's not a lot of money, but when it's your little side hustle, and you just getting started out, an extra $200 on a Saturday, that's pretty good money,
Mm-hmm.
And all he had to do was charge $1 more, and it was still less than a cappuccino, what he was charging. And that's what I told him. I was like, dude, these people that are buying these they'll spin through Starbucks every morning and pay $7, $8 for a cup of coffee. They don't care if you charge them $5 instead of $4, But yeah, he told me the other day, he's like, next year, them things is going to be more expensive. But you live and learn. You're gonna have to figure out the market in your area. Your area may be one of them where they won't pay that. They might not would have bought them. Like the things that I didn't even tell the lady how much I'm going to charge her, because she sent me so much work, and she calls me and says, hey, can you make this for the Girl Scouts? Can you make this for the Girl Scouts? And so I didn't even tell her how much she owed me. Her husband's like, how much she owe you? And I'm like, I don't know. Just tell her to send me something. So.
But, part of the question being too is a setup fee. You got to weigh that, but you got to factor that into your time, because I've had, a lot of times I'll tell people, if you can provide me a vector image that it imports and I don't have to do any meddling with it, it's going to be minimal, But, in some of those cases where they send it to me and in 5 minutes I'm ready to engrave, depending on the job, I might waive that. But there are so many times that I have spent a half hour or an hour cleaning up or trying to get a good copy of their logo. They don't necessarily have the right vector and such. You can eat up a lot of your time that you could have been, earning $50-$60 that hour, cranking out some tumblers or other things.
Yeah, especially if it's an individual.
Up with the machine.
If it's an individual, especially, because they're probably just going to order that one from you and be done. But if it's a business like what he's saying,
And in that case, you might say, well, I have this template. If I can just drop your logo into it, maybe change the text, minimal fee. But if it's a very custom thing, you might charge a one-time thing, but then next time they come back, you're not going to charge them for it, kind of thing. And that's where you definitely want to make sure you're saving all your files in a way that you can retrieve them and reuse them. But yeah, there's a lot of time in the logistics of getting to the point where you hit burn,
Yeah, and the thing too, I can tell you from as far as the trophy metal engraving those, if they're doing like a standard like 1x3, 3/4 by 2.5 or whatever, like if they have standard sizes of those, once you get that set up, that material like, especially if you've got a CO2 or a fiber, that material's like, it burns really, really quick. Matter of fact, well, I done got rid of a bunch of it. Never mind. I had a lot of it. I had a bunch of it over here. I forgot I did some cleaning the other day. But my buddy Tim up at the trophy shop, he does the same thing. He cuts his with a shear and cuts them into specific shapes and sizes. And so once you learn what shapes and sizes they have, it's nothing to build your little jig. That way you just drop it in the hole, put your text where it needs to go, and hit send. So yeah, if you can get in with other businesses, I tend to cut businesses breaks before I will individuals a lot of times, because that business, once you do it, if they like the product and they keep coming back and keep coming back, it's like my stove cover thing. I started that almost 4 years ago, and now it's like 15 grand a year. That's sometimes 20 if they have a real good year that I'm making off these stove covers. So it started off as just a, hey, could you make us one of these? And now it's like every week I'm making them. So, and I really want to reevaluate my price because materials have went up. I've only had one price change in the past 4 years, but they did add another product, and my price on it's decent. So,
well, and that's when you're offering customization of things to retail people that are going to be a one-off, limit your options. Tell them, here are the fonts I will work with. You get 3 lines of text or whatever, and here is my library of graphics or something.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I charge a setup fee of whatever. So
yeah,
that way they can get some customization. It doesn't take you as long. You can hopefully have some things kind of set in place where you just edit the text, drop the font, and go. But it's a trick. I mean, pricing out your stuff, there's so many factors. What works for David in Alabama might not work for me up here. What works for me in southern Minnesota might not work for the Twin Cities, 1 hour away. So it is a balance that, at the end of the day, you got to look at your costs of your time. And then there's factors of, there are some people like who have mentioned on here, it's just their hobby, but they kind of want to price it appropriately versus, I got to pay the bills. I got, maybe you have, you're paying for your shop space or something like that. That all goes into your equation, but end of the day, the market is going to help direct you just as much as your costs. And that's something to recognize in the case that you may not be able to afford to do certain jobs just because the market won't bear it in your area. Yeah,
because that's what I have found too. A lot of times it's like what it's actually worth, people aren't going to want to pay it. And so I just tell people, look, I can't do that. I'm not going to do it or whatever. And then a lot of times I'll have like makers around here that do it as a hobby that will do it. And I'll be like, hey, go talk to this guy. Like Klein. Klein doesn't have the customer base that I have. So there's a lot of times when there's a job that maybe I don't want to do because I'm busy. And in order for me to do it, I'm going to have to charge, this much to be able to stop what I'm doing and do the job. Whereas Klein might not have nothing going on that week. And so he might be willing to do it a little cheaper. And then once he does that, then the next time they'll come back to him, for their next laser needs or whatever the case may be. And of course, a lot of people around here are like, man, Clack, Klein's up there competing with you, blah, blah. And I'm like, where do you think he gets his machines from? I mean, I'm not worried about the competition because trust me, there's days that he calls me and goes, hey, I got this person want me to do this, and I'm just, I'm not comfortable doing it. And so I'll wind up partnering with him or helping him or just mentoring him or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you just gotta kind of feel your way through it. I still, like I said, I turn down lots of stuff because especially like right now, I've had 2 or 3 jobs in the past couple of weeks. People want me to make different things. And I'm just like, look, I can't right now. Get with me after January and we can talk. But right now I can't. So the hardest thing to tell people sometimes is no. You want to do the job. Like you don't want to get in the habit of people saying, can you do this for me? You don't want to get in the habit of saying no. But sometimes not saying no will bite you really hard. Like either you'll end up taking on a job that's way harder than it should have been for very little money, or either you'll wind up messing up a piece of equipment or something and having to fix it, and you wind up upside down. Like I've had people ask me, "Hey, can you engrave this stock, that's on this shotgun that, I bought for my kid's birthday or whatever?" And, can I? Yeah. But what if something happens? I mean, how is what kind of wood is it? Is it wood? Is it a plastic coat? What is it finished with? And if it is finished, if you hit it with a blue diode or a CO2, is it going to crack? Is it going to stain? I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to consider before you do the job. And if you're only charging 10 or $15, but you stand a potential of destroying a $50, $100 whatever, if you screw it up, then, maybe today's not the day to do that job. Maybe you have to say, no, I ain't got time, or I don't feel comfortable doing it or whatever. Cause that's one of the things that I struggled with early on, was saying, I don't feel comfortable doing that, So it's because you're like, I need all the work I can get. I don't want to turn work down, but at the end of the day, sometimes that's the smarter approach. Yeah. Chris is saying the same things. I price a job, so I'm forcing someone who needs the money more than me to lower their prices. Yeah, I mean, like I said, markets fluctuate, and sometimes I'm gonna be honest with you, people sometimes will pay more money than I would for me to do the job than to go to somebody else. Like I've had them tell me, "Look, what would it cost me to get you to do it? I want you to do it. I don't want to go to somebody else." And I'm like, "Okay, well, this is what it cost me." And if they say, okay, then I'm like, all right, but I'm going to be making good money doing it. You know what I mean? So you never know. Ken said, I was once asked to engrave a name and a message on a BB gun. I ended up buying a new BB gun because I managed to engrave it upside down. Yeah, and that's the thing. There's not an undo button on these lasers. There is no undo button. Once you hit that burn button, there ain't no undo. So I've been there before. I had a buddy of mine beg me. He's like, man, can I come over there and use one of your machines? I want to put a deer right here on the stock of this rifle and, all this, that, and the other. And I'm like, sure, you can use the machine, but you pushing the button. And right before he pushed the button, I said, are you sure you want to push that button? And he said, yeah. And he pushed that button and immediately regretted it. So you never know.
Wheel. Rolling past 2 hours now.
Yep. And hey, guess what, guys? Guess what's the next Friday, Sunday Night Live we're going to be having? Guess what it is? Christmas edition. 21st. Steve's going to be giving away all the tools in the shop. No, just joking. We're going to be giving away a bunch of stuff, though. We're into the thousands of dollars worth of merchandise being given away. And so y'all make sure you're here and make sure you're commenting and ready to go and all that good stuff. Got your email pulled up, because it's going to be a fun night, and we want as many folks to win as can. And we hope that it's a bunch of our usual guys that win, but the nature of the giveaway, we are working with other companies that are just kind of partnering with us to provide stuff to give away. It is going to be public, so other people can join. Other people have just as much of a chance of winning as you guys do. But we think the chances are really good. Hopefully there won't be that many more people in there. As much stuff as we're giving away, there's definitely going to be some of you guys that win something. I mean, the chances are in your favor.
I'll give away anything from my shop, but the cost to open the doors to let you out with it, that's going to be expensive.
Yeah. Somebody was saying they would take all my overflow machines. And I'll be honest with you. There's been a few people that have benefited from it, and I try to give back to you guys when I can. Can't always, and I am wanting to try to build a bigger building or get me a storage building somewhere on the property or something. So I may actually have to start selling some of this stuff instead of just giving everything away to be able to build that storage or extra shop or whatever I'm going to do. But I'm running out of space, like legit running out of space.
Well, and David wouldn't spot me the cash for the place I found that has a nice 50 by 24 shop.
I told you I'd write you a check, but I ain't never coming to Missouri if you cash it. Or Minnesota, I mean. I ain't coming to Minnesota if you go cash it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, it'll be fun. And you know, like say if Clack gets his way up here, we'll do a meetup, and I'm sure we'll do another in-person giveaway for some of these things. But we try to give back what we can when we can afford to, when it's reasonable to ship them out. The nice thing with the giveaway next weekend is they're
drop shipping.
They're drop shipping, or they're working the order directly with the with the winner and such. So the cost and logistics aren't on us for that. So we'll do our best. And a lot of manufacturers out there that are working with us. Not all of them can ship necessarily worldwide. Some of them are offering alternatives for people that might be international areas that they can't ship to. So we're always trying to keep in mind all of our friends that are not based here in North America and such. So really appreciative of all of that. So yeah, we'll be rolling through them, but you also got to remember we're starting an hour early next week at 6 p.m. Central. So make sure you're here early. We'll try to give people a little bit of time before we kick off the first giveaway, but we do want to get through them all before it's late, and we'll try to have some fun along the way.
Yeah, and like I said, we got a host of different companies participating. I know me and Steve both have done kind of a teaser video. I plan to try to do another one this week sometime, just touching on the companies that are going to be participating. A lot of that is because, like I said, for these companies to want to participate with the drawing, they expect to get a little bit of a shout out in return. And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be trying to give them a little bit of ad time as well as a little exposure and all that stuff, because next year when we ask them to participate, we want their participation to be even bigger and bigger. And I see some folks are saying that, like X-Tool is on there now. Yeah. X-Tool's never participated with us before. A lot of these other companies in the Christmas thing, did it?
They gave away an AP2 last year.
Oh, that's right. They did last year. Okay. Yep. Never mind. But so hopefully this year, if it's bigger and better and all that, they'll start to step up more and more. Yeah, I forgot about that. We did have the AP2 last year. I guess we need to start keeping the spreadsheets because I flat forgot about that. But we got Atom Stack, Carbide 3D, which is the makers of the Shapeoko machines, Sculpt Fun, X-Tool, Sane Smart, Cody over at Jenny Bits, got Acemer and Lightburn kicking in for some stuff. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know that there's going to be an F2 in the mix. That's a little bit of a reach right now, I think, for them. But no, we're grateful for their participation, and like I said, for them to give us the opportunity to be able to give back to you guys just a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. There is no. I see somebody saying something. I think I signed up. There is no signing up on this one. You just got to be in the lobby, and when we give you the key phrase for that drawing, you got to put it in the comments, and then we're going to give it a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about the products while you guys are putting your keywords in the comments and letting them collect, and then we're going to spin the wheel. And like each company, some of the companies have got multiple things in the drawing, and so we're gonna draw those things out, collect names, get email addresses and everything, and rock on through it as fast as we can. But we do want to give everybody a chance to get into the drawing, as well as we do want to carve out a little bit of time to talk about, the partnership between us and the companies, because all of these companies are companies that we have a working relationship with. Like we've partnered with them looking at machines or whatever over the years. So this is not like we just pulled random companies. These are companies that we've dealt with before. And like I said, we aren't going to be necessarily sending you guys the stuff. And that's part of that is so that if you are in the UK or if you are in Canada or whatever, the logistics on us isn't as bad because they're just going to send it from their, shipping location or whatever directly to you, which makes it a little easier. So there you go. And then some of the companies have also said that in the event that it is like certain countries, they've got a list that they'll give you basically a gift certificate for that amount or whatever to spend on their materials or whatever. So basically they're just going to give you the value of it, even though it, whatever you get may be a little bit more than that. So, but we've done what we can to make it fair and fun and try to have enough stuff that everybody can get a little something. Not everybody's going to be getting, like grade A top tier prizes, but your chances of getting something are pretty good. So there you go.
Looking forward to it. So check out the promo videos and make sure to set your alarm for it an hour early next week. And we'll get through it all and then get everything going into the Christmas week. So
yep, 6 p.m. next week, guys. So might want to hit that button to remind you because we're going to be an hour early. And I don't know if she's going to be on camera or not, but we're going to have Brandy running backup, helping us keep up with the winners and putting stuff on our spreadsheet and stuff like that. So I've got her set up with a desktop computer and a laptop so she can be working away behind the scenes. But anyway, guys, I guess that's it. Unless you got something else, Steve. Busy week?
Yeah, well, it's finals week, so still students on campus for 2.5 days, faculty for 4 days. And then we'll roll into the Christmas break, slow down a little bit. But I'm not taking a whole lot of break because we're running off to Vegas in the first week in January.
Yeah, January we're going to be going to Vegas. So if you're in Vegas or going to be in Vegas, be watching for that. We will be putting posts out when we get there so that we can have maybe a meetup or maybe hang out and meet everybody in the lobby of the motel or something one day and kind of hang out for a little while. But yeah, got that coming up. And I see Sim the attorney says that for those in Europe will be worth staying up for. I mean, from what I'm seeing, most of them, the European countries are going to be eligible for shipping. If not, there's going to be a bunch of them that are going to revert to the gift certificate. So it would probably be worth your time, I would think.
Yep.
But yeah, but that's it, guys. That's all I got. Stay tuned. I've got some stuff I'm working on this week. If it doesn't get too cold out here, hopefully I can get some of it done. It's been busy. It's been very busy.
Great Viking. I've got my flu shot. I'm getting stocked up on immunity, or what is it? The immunity, whatever that
emergency
bonus. Yeah. I bought some new gummy vitamins so that I don't, I'm.
Did you get one of those inflatable bubbles?
Not quite. But yeah, no, I'm hoping to not come away with the convention funk.
And if you do, don't drop off by there and give it to Cody again.
Well, as much as I'd love to swing down to Arizona again this year, I can't make that happen this year. But yeah, we'll hopefully have a healthier trip. We're going to be in Vegas longer this time, which is going to make it less chaotic, but it's also a lot of walking, a lot of talking with people. But hopefully we can spread that out a little bit more and not be quite so tired, and that'll help the immune system as well.
Well, I think the arrangements that where we're staying is going to benefit a lot too. Because remember last year we were knocking out a good mile to and from for a couple of those days. So I think that's going to help a little bit.
Technically, we're further away, so.
Well, the 2 of the days we're not. 2 of the days we're at the location.
Well, not everything is at that location those days. You got to look at the schedule though. Either way,
but I still think it's going to be better. Because we did do a lot of walking to go to the what you call it, the shuttles last year.
I mean, I don't think there's any getting away or walking around for this thing.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I can just get you to carry me. Can you get one of those backpacks that's got like a seat?
That is not going to happen.
All right, guys. I appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all later. I'm gonna get Steve to be eating plenty of apples and oranges and vitamin C, and getting ready for then. So, see y'all later.
We'll see everyone.